Hey, it's your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. I am back for another show. Welcome. If you have not been here before, please give me a big old thumbs up to let me know you were here and click that big old bell on YouTube for notifications. And if you're on Facebook Live, type in and let me know that you were here so I know that you were here, all right? So this is what I do on this show. Every week, I come at you with the latest and sometimes the greatest, sometimes not so great. Let me push at my back. Sometimes not so great. What is happening in the film world above and below the line? Sometimes I have interviews. Sometimes it's just reviews. Sometimes it's just me running my mouth. You never know what you're going to get with the Curvy Critic, Carla Renata. But that's who I am, and I am here. Hey, Michael B., how you doing? So let me get right on into it. I always start out checking in, telling you how my week was. Let me know how your week was. But your girl was busy this week. I did a plethora of interviews, all of which you are going to hear today. I went to the drive-in at the Rose Bowl and attended a screening, the premiere screening of the Trial of the Chicago 7. Which is being produced by Netflix. So I attended that at the Rose Bowl. It was the bomb. I had my own personal window washer and everything. It was fierce. And Aaron Sorkin did a talk back afterwards with the incomparable Elvis Mitchell, who is a wonderful film critic in his own right. But he did a talk back with Aaron Sorkin right after the screening, and that was that. So that was a really good highlight. I'd never been to the Rose. As long as I've lived in LA, I've never been to the Rose Bowl. Never been to the Rose Bowl. I know, so sad. Hey, Souza, never been to the Rose Bowl, never, ever. So for me to go there and have that experience was everything. And it was very organized, very quick, short, and to the point. So I love that. I did a roundtable for AFCA around Own Your Vote. And I'm going to talk a little bit about voting later in conjunction with one of the films I'm reviewing here. I also was honored and asked by NALIP to be a mentor for a group of budding and up-and-coming filmmakers for their emerging content creators series that they do every year in association with the Latino Media Festival, which happened from October 14th through October 16th. Hey, Brandon. And so that was that. And welcome to the Blumhouse. Closed it out this weekend, y'all, with the online virtual concert with Ludacris. It was kind of everything. I kind of was dancing, in my bed under the sheets because I was really not feeling like getting dressed yesterday. So it was that kind of a day, but I had a good time nonetheless. And that was pretty much my week. But I kicked it all off and started rounding it out with the virtual opening night of the AFI Film Fest. The AFI Film Fest started this week, and I have a bunch of films that I saw during that. I actually paused one to come and talk to y'all. Hey, Brandon. So there's that. All right, so let me get right into it. The first review I'm going to do is a film called The Cuban. It is directed by, I'll get to that in a minute, but it stars Louis Gossett Jr. and Ana Goya. And Ana, it covers the story of a legendary Cuban guitarist who is now in a home suffering with Alzheimer's and how he and his pre-med student bond over music. Now, it's been proven scientifically and medically that patients that have Alzheimer's or have dementia, they are usually helped by hearing music. We know this to be true because a few years back, I did an interview with the director of I'll Be Me, a documentary that covered the life of Glenn Campbell and his diagnosis at the time of Alzheimer's. By the time the film had come out, his Alzheimer's had progressed to the point where he was no longer able to speak or be a danger and was a danger to himself and others. And then I think before the Grammys after he did his performance on the Grammys with his children and his band, he passed away shortly thereafter. How did I see what, Michael B? You talking to me? So there's that. And it was a beautiful film. It was a love letter, I guess you could say, to the Cuban culture, Cuban food, just everything about Cuba. I think they shot some of the parts there in Cuba because it was very colorful and it looked like the old Cuba, the ones that we see in the movies. Yes, so I get advanced screeners to almost everything because I am a film critic, and I usually talk about them here a couple of days before I know they're going to come out, unless I have specifically been told to not talk about it on a Sunday because they want the embargo to be on a Monday for whatever reason. And I try to respect the fact that they give me access to the films and honor that. So thank you, Sergio Navarrete. Thank you, Souza. I was like, I know it's in my notes somewhere. I can't find it. But yes, The Cuban is directed by Sergio Navarrete. And it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. It is streaming online. I highly suggest you check it out if you have the opportunity. Now, next up, I've talked about the way I see it here a plethora of times for a variety of reasons. I did an interview with Laura Dern and Pete Souza, who is the subject of The Way I See It. And now, finally, I got to talk to my girl, Dawn Porter. Now, just to give you a little insight into Dawn Porter before we speak, Dawn Porter is also the director of the documentary that came out earlier this year called Good Trouble about John Lewis. She's also the director of Bobby Kennedy is President, all of which I have seen, all of which are excellent. I adore talking to her. It is a good time every time I talk to her, and she always drops such great, intelligent nuggets. Now, whenever I do interviews, the interviews are always a little longer than what I present here on the Curvy Critic because I'm only allowed on this platform to show 5 minutes. But if you want to see the interview in its entirety, please go to the YouTube channel and it will pop up somewhere between like 5:30 and 6 o'clock. You'll be able to see the interview in its entirety. I believe it's about 8 or 11 minutes. So until then, take a look and a listen to this interview I did with director Dawn Porter about her film, The Way I See It. How did you become introduced to Pete Souza and his work? And how did those photographs that he shot of those administrations resonate with you?
Laura Dern is one of the producers, and her producing partner, Jamie Lemons, kind of came across Pete, was really interested in his Instagram. Then she went to his show. They teamed up with another producer, Evan Hayes. And it was really that group, they said, do you want to, can we talk to you about something? We think that this would be really, good for you, good for you in that you might respond to this material. So they approached me and like, who doesn't want to meet Laura Dern? So I met
her. I talked to her about this. So I was like, I had talked to everybody, but I'm like, I got to get Dawn.
I was like, yeah, I want to meet Laura Dern. But as soon as, so we like talked about it, and then they invited Pete to come to Los Angeles, and he just flipped open his computer and started doing his thing, talking about photos. Very simple, straightforward. And I literally started to cry. So, which gets to your second question, which is I realized I felt like I'd been holding my breath for like 2 years, like just missing decency in the White House. And Pete's photos just showed a humanity. And, as a Black person, you're proud of the Obamas, right? Like they just did that thing.
Yeah, they did.
But now that they're gone, I was like, now when you don't have something, you really appreciate it. And that's like Pete's photos just landed, just the inclusiveness. And I am not President Obama's perfect. Like that's not what I think, or that's not the point.
No, I get it. But he was presidential.
He was
presidential.
And we were proud of our country. You could go anywhere and hold your head high. And to go from that to where we are now was just so demoralizing, So anyway, so as soon as I did that, I was working on John Lewis movie, and I was like, these movies really belong together, because Mr. Lewis was always saying, if you see something, say something, right? And that's what Pete was doing. In his 60s, he came out of his, self-imposed quiet and started speaking up about what he was afraid of. So I just felt like a really great project to leap into.
It was beautiful. I loved it so much. I was, you have this, and it's rare, and it's a very unique gift that a filmmaker possesses when you can watch their projects and they incite a visceral reaction to what you're seeing on the screen. And in all three of your documentaries that I've seen, Bobby Kennedy for President, Good Trouble, and The Way I See It, every time I see those documentaries, I have this visceral reaction to it that makes me well up with pride, makes me want to go out and do something, but makes me angry all at the same time. You know what I mean? Did you give me 2 snaps in a circle?
I gave you 2 snaps up. Because that's the goal. Like, that's what I feel like when I meet these people, is I feel something. And we are working on a multi-part series for Apple with Oprah Winfrey and Prince Harry about mental health and mental wellness. So stay tuned on a release date. We're working really hard to get that out. I'm going to fly for the first time next week to Los Angeles. So
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you. So hopefully I'll be back with you.
Okay. Okay,
that's not even funny.
It's not, but it is, but it isn't. You know, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for you, though. Thank you, and I really appreciate the fact that with this new project, you're shedding a light on mental illness, because people in the Black and Brown communities have a certain stigma attached to it. So I'm hoping that this kind of destigmatizes that in the process.
That is our goal, and thank you for saying that and for everything you do. Like, I just so appreciate you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Okay.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye. I love Dawn. I love talking to her. And as you can see, we love talking to each other. We were giggling. I love when I'm doing an interview and it's just like a conversation, like you're just kind of hanging out with an old friend, even though we're not old friends. But I love that vibe. But I really mean it when I say I love her work. I really do love her work. So you guys, again, The Way I See It, produced by Focus Features and directed by Dawn Porter, is streaming right now. If you don't do anything else before you vote for the 2020 election, you need to watch this documentary, and you need to watch All In: The Fight for Democracy, which is produced by Stacey Abrams. Okay? All right. My nose is itching. Okay. So there's that. In answer to Brandon, yes, Over the Moon is streaming this week. I'm not addressing Over the Moon right now because I am under embargo with Over the Moon. So I will talk about Over the Moon next week. All righty. And he wants me to let y'all know that he wants to recommend a new Netflix animated series which is on its 3rd season right now, called The Last Kids on Earth. So that is a recommendation from one of my viewers and listeners, Brandon Heaton. That's right, Brandon Heaton. Thank you, Brandon. If I had some applause, I'd give it to you. All right. So on Netflix. Yes, it's on Netflix. All right. So the next film that I saw was a film on Disney Plus, which is streaming right now, called Clouds. It is directed by Justin Baldoni. It stars Finn Argus and Sabrina Carpenter, and it deals with a terminal patient who becomes a hit recording artist. This is the thing that I love about this film. It sounds like a film that could be a downer. It sounds like a film that could have you all up in your feelings. It is going to have you all up in your feelings, but in a way that you don't expect, because it addresses the issue of, most of the time when we see these films and some teenager has been diagnosed with cancer, it's really a down in the doldrums kind of story. This is not. This is the type of story that begs the question, what would you do if you knew that your time on this earth was finite? What would you do? Would you sit back and be sad about it and, cry and be woe is me? Or would you make the best use possible of that time that you have left? And that is what happens throughout the course of this film. I loved this movie. It was so uplifting. And yes, it is going to make you cry. It'll make you cry, but it's a good cry. It's not a sad cry, if that makes sense. So again, check it out. It's called Clouds, and it is streaming right now on Disney Plus. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about voting yet again. There is a film that I watched called The Belly of the Beast. And this is why I'm going to talk about voting. So there's a lot of things on the ballot that are up for grabs and up for discussion. Mainly the reproductive rights of women is a huge one that is going to be decided usually by the Supreme Court at this point. It's probably going to be decided by the Supreme Court. And there's been all this angst and drama over the impending Supreme Court nominee this week. This is what I'm going to say about this. When you watch Belly of the Beast, which is produced by PBS and directed by Erica Cohn, you will see why exercising your vote is absolutely, positively, unequivocally, without question, important. My mother and I, we casted our votes today, and I have on a vote necklace around my neck. If you can see it, it says vote. I will be wearing this necklace until November 3rd, or maybe after that, depending on what happens. But Belly of the Beast is a documentary that deals with the illegal sterilization of female inmates in the California Department of Corrections institutions. 20,000 women were illegally sterilized and told that they had abnormal reproductive cells because a doctor named Dr. Heinrich decided that they didn't need to be behind bars with the possibility to have children. He took their life into his hands and decided that they weren't worthy of giving birth to another life. That is ridiculous. It is disgusting. And I'm so glad that they brought it to light in this film. The woman, the activist, and the lawyer that took this to court and fought until some headway was made. Her name is Cynthia Chandler. She works for Justice Now, and she went to bat for one woman in particular who was in jail for killing her husband. The sister went to jail for killing her husband, which, just so you know, most women that are incarcerated are in jail for killing a husband or a man, but it's due to domestic violence, not because they was just walking around wielding a pistol wanting to kill somebody. But this one sister was sentenced to 15 years for domestic violence. She had to watch her two sons grow up without her. And if that wasn't bad enough, she's been abused. She had to go to jail. She had to give up her rights to her children and then have her ovaries and her uterus taken out through no consent of her own. Really? It's just, I can't even begin to tell you how angry I am about that. This goes back to Germany. This method of doing this goes back to Germany with a process called eugenics. And it goes back to after World War II, when they were trying to stop the population from growing in eugenics. This also happens in China. Right now, this is happening in China. This is not okay for a bunch of men to make political decisions about women's bodies. It's just not okay. Luckily, in the state of California, Jerry Brown put a stop to it when he signed a bill to stop and halt that type of illegal sterilization in the state of California. So again, the name of this film is called Belly of the Beast. Please, please, please check it out. When was this? This has been happening for the last 20 to 30 years, Michael B., in the state of California. It's been happening for quite some time. So yes, Belly of the Beast. Now, I said at the beginning of the show that I went to the Rose Bowl Drive-In to see the trial of the Chicago 7. And yes, I did. And not only did I do that, but I got to talk to its writer and director, Aaron Sorkin. Aaron Sorkin is a badass. I love him so much. But I sat down and I talked to him about a scene in that movie that wore me the hell out. I had to just ask him about it. And then we talked about Yahya Abdul-Mateen, the recent Emmy winner for Watchmen. So take a look and a listen to my interview with Aaron Sorkin, the director of the trial of the Chicago 7. There is something that I have been burning to ask you ever since I saw this film. Yeah. There's that scene, yes. There's that scene in the courtroom where Yahya, playing Bobby Seale, is bound and gagged for the duration of that chunk of the trial. What was the thought process of struggling with whether to include that or not? Because that, when I saw that, I was like, ooh. And I know that happened and I know it's real, but considering where we are in life right now, I was like, ooh, okay, Aaron Sorkin, I need to know about this.
Yeah, there was no chance that I wasn't going to include that. That was one of the most horrible moments that has ever taken place in an American courtroom. Now, the fact is that it was worse in reality. And I wish I could have shown that, because he was bound and gagged for several days in the courtroom before he got his mistrial. I give him the mistrial right away. Bound and gagged in this courtroom, and anytime he would, and he would still try to object. Remember, anytime he would struggle, anytime we would try to object, those marshals shove him back in the seat again. So there was no chance that that scene wasn't going to be in the movie. And not only that, I didn't at all alter the trial transcript of the exchange between Bobby and the judge.
I noticed that, because I actually looked up the trial transcript.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I'm that doll. I'm such a geek. I'm a research geek. I will research within an inch of my life.
That's awesome that you did that.
I am a research geek, and I did notice that you did that, and I wanted to give you kudos on that, because that was freaking awesome.
I figured it was kind of sacred territory, that you don't want to mess with it, and also, why would you need to? Nobody's going to write it better than that.
Well, nobody's going to write it better than you. So let's just put that out there, because you're thebomb.com. Oh, no, it's the truth. I love your work. I'm so honored to be able to speak to you. Speaking of that scene, you were one of the first people to kind of have a premonition about Yahya. At the time that Yahya shot this film for you, he wasn't a household name.
I don't think you needed to be a genius to see that Yahya Abdul-Mateen was going to be a star. A phenomenal actor. The way he got the part was he didn't audition. I just looked at a reel of his previous work, and what I saw, in addition to what anyone would see, was the power that he had when he was silent, the power that he had just sitting there looking at you. And I knew that that power was going to be important for Bobby sitting in that chair in the courtroom. There's only one scene in the film. It's his first scene, when he's introduced along with the other defendants. And he's getting ready to go, and he's defending the speech that he's going to be making. But mostly, he's just trying to tell his girlfriend it's going to be fine. I'm just going for 4 hours. It's going to be fine. That scene, his first scene, is the only scene in the movie where he is a free man. In every other scene, because he wasn't free on bail, he had to go to a jail cell every night. And every other scene, he's being led in handcuffs, he's being shoved back in his chair by U.S. Marshals, or he's being bound and gagged. So I knew that the strength of Yahya just sitting there staring at the judge was going to be very, very powerful. That's how he got the part. And then once he was there on set, like I said, you didn't need to be an expert to know that this is going to be an actor we're going to watch for a long time.
Well, Aaron Sorkin, that's my time. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to me. You are a political powerhouse on screen. Thank you for bringing this to the screen so that people can get out and vote and recognize that our rights and how we use them is very, very important.
You keep repeating that, okay? Thanks very much. It's so important.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Yes, Aaron Sorkin, I will keep repeating it. And I have said it several times at the beginning and middle of the show already. Vote, 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 people. Vote. There is no great reason in the world why Bobby Seale had to sit in an American courtroom bound and gagged. America, the land of the free, had a black man bound and gagged during a trial that he shouldn't have been in the first place, because he had no legal representation and was there bound and gagged for several days. Vote, y'all. Your rights are up for grabs. Please, please, please vote, vote, vote. All right. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. Let's talk about the AFI Film Festival. I saw a plethora of films. I'm going to run through them really, really, really fast. The first one was the opening night film called I'm Your Woman. It starred Rachel Brosnahan, who was practically unrecognizable with blonde hair. She plays this mob wife whose husband goes missing, and then she has to go on the run, and it's just shenanigans. But it's like a good old 70s throwback, cop thriller, action-packed movie, and I loved every single solitary moment of it. It's directed by Julia Hart. The opening night virtual opening was great. The kids were pouring themselves virtual martinis. It would have been nice if I'd had martini too, but I wasn't given that kit. Wink, wink. Child, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because I don't drink gin. But anywho, that's I'm Your Woman. Then I saw a film, and it's going to be on Amazon Studios on December 11th. So you'll get to see it on December 11th. The next film I saw was a gorgeous film, gorgeous film that was written by a sister named Angel Christie Williams. Angel Christie Williams. Remember that name. You're going to hear a lot of it moving forward. It was a beautiful love story about these two beautiful black chocolate people that meet, they fall in love, but their careers get in their way. And the male lead is that yummy drop of chocolate goodness from Queen Sugar, Kofi Siriboe. He was in it. And Yata Lysing, she was absolutely gorgeous. The two of them, their chemistry just leapt off the screen. And not for nothing, but y'all know I talk about Howard University in St. Louis all the time. Yata's character was what? A student from Howard University. So, just for that reason alone, I was all in. But it was beautifully shot, gorgeously shot. Produced by Stephanie Elaine. I've talked about Stephanie Elaine on this show before. Stephanie Elaine is a producing powerhouse. She has a plethora of films under her name. If you don't know who she is, check her out on IMDb. She is no joke. And Angel Christie Williams is no joke too either. This film was absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait for y'all to see it. I do not have a release date on this one yet, but trust and believe, when I do, y'all will be the first ones to know. Next up, I saw a film called 9 Days by Sony Pictures Classic, starring Winston Duke and Zazie Beetz. It's about this reclusive man who conducts a series of interviews with a bunch of human beings for their souls to have a chance to be reborn. It is a weird, strange movie that is directed by Edson Olda. He got rave reviews for this film at Sundance, but this film it's a little out there. I had to watch it. I watched it 3 times so I could fully understand what was going on. Because that first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know what I just watched. But what I will tell you is that Winston Duke in this movie, if you thought you saw what he could do in Us, if you thought you saw what he could do in Black Panther, I'm here to tell you, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is a breakout role for Winston Duke. If nothing else, you have to see it for him. I don't have release date information on that, but again, when I do, I will let you know when that is happening. I also saw a documentary called Whirlybird, which chronicles this LA copter journalist who transitions. He goes from being a man to being a woman after being a man for more than 40, 50 years of his life. And he started the LA News Service, which was the first and only LA helicopter service. He was like a diehard, balls to the walls journalist that got the news. And he became really well known after he was one of the first people to grab that overhead footage of O.J. Simpson driving on that freeway in that white Bronco. But it's a story worth watching, if for nothing else, to know about his legacy and to know about what it was like for somebody that had that major testosterone, and that testosterone kind of made him a little bit of an asshole because he was trapped in a woman's body. And that's not always the case for people that are transitioning. They're not assholes, but this particular man was a straight up butthead until he transitioned, and then he kind of softened out. And it was nice to see that transition happen for him. Again, I don't have information on that one either. A lot of these films that are in the film festivals, they don't have distribution or dates yet, but when they do, I will let you know. It's directed by Matt Yoka. I also saw or attended the virtual premiere of Wolfwalkers. Yay, Brandon, Wolfwalkers. I attended Wolfwalkers, and it is finally going to be seen on December 11th via Apple TV+. It's directed by Tom Moore and Ross Stewart. It is a what's the best way to describe it? It is a Irish folklore animated film, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's about this young little apprentice hunter and her dad who journey to Ireland to help wipe out the last of the wolf pack. But everything changes, though, when she befriends a free-spirited girl with a mysterious tribe rumored to transform into wolves by night. It was a beautiful story. I absolutely loved it. Again, Apple TV Plus on December 11th. And the last film that I saw right as I was coming to y'all that I didn't really get to finish is a film directed by Darius Marder. It will be on Amazon Studios on December 4th. It is called Sound of Metal. It is about this heavy metal drummer who goes deaf. And not only is he deaf, but he's an addict. So him going deaf, like almost instantly, triggers his addiction, and he goes to a halfway house or an addiction house for other addicts who are also deaf. It's brilliant because most of the film is absolute silence. So you have to pay attention. I will finish it and tell you about it later on, but it will be on Amazon Studios on December 4th, like I said. Now, this last interview, before we get up out of here, and it's really short, is with RZA. Y'all know who RZA is. RZA was part of Wu-Tang Clan. He has been a writer. He's a major hip hop artist. He's been a director. He directed Cutthroat City, which I reviewed here a few weeks ago. He does so many things. He crosses so many lanes, and he and I actually have something in common. He and I are actually part of the voice talent for a video game called Grand Theft Auto Liberty City series. So you can catch me and RZA on Grand Theft Auto. If you haven't already, check it out. I play Lisa. All right, so there's that. But I talked to RZA about Cutthroat City. I talked to him about ODB. And I also talked to him about that good humor jingle, good humor truck, ice cream truck jingle. And he had a few things to say about that. As usual, all of these interviews are an abridged version. You can catch the full version when it streams on my YouTube channel. So take a look and a listen to my interview with RZA, the director of Cutthroat City.
You're very socially conscious and you're very culturally conscious. And I know that you helped, or you teamed up with Good Humor to rewrite that ice cream truck song, that one that we've been hearing for decades and decades and decades. But nobody knows that that song comes from a 1912 song called Turkey in the Straw, where they calling us all kinds of things in the lyrics of that song. You know what I mean? So why did Good Humor, did you contact Good Humor, or did Good Humor come to you and say, let's change this? It's time for this it's time for us to make a change.
No, they actually contacted me. And they brought it to my attention. You know, they said, did you know? I said, I've been seeing it online, but I wasn't fully aware. I think some brother did an article that really exposed it. And that's the beautiful thing about Black Twitter or social media. We get to say things and put it out there, baby.
Yep.
Put it in face. And I will give you got to give Good Humor their kudos, because they don't even make ice cream trucks and they got nothing to do with the song. But they were the fathers of ice cream trucks, right? And so what they said was like, yo, we're going to be proactive and we're going to make a song to replace that. And are you interested in being a composer? And I was like, yo, if it's anything positive to make a better tomorrow, you can count me in. And that's what the goal was, to the best way I can say it is, if you get a chance to replace a negative with a positive in your own lifetime, do it. Okay. And that's what we was doing on that one.
That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I try to uplift people that are above and below the line in the industry that most people don't think about being above and below the line. And everybody thinks of folks above the line, but they never talk to the composers. They never talk to the writers. They never talk to the producers. And I try to bring a little light and love to those people that are people of color and women specifically. So I feel you on that point. Last but not least, again, I'm going to give you your flowers because you are a SAG-nominated director. You are Emmy-nominated brother. You cross so many different lanes and tick so many different boxes. But all of that started with your brotherhood of a lifetime with Wu-Tang Crew, right? Wu-Tang Clan.
Yes, indeed.
And I think you're about to embark on producing another project that centers around a member of the clan, which is Old Dirty Bastard, right?
Well, we do have his movie. We've been trying to develop a film based on his life, and we covered some ground. We've covered some ground, and I'm gonna keep pushing. And you know, he has a life, right? I said have, right? Because I hate to say had, right? He has a life that I think will inspire generations, you know, because in the midst of everything about him, we seen the TV persona, or we've seen some of the things people say that was outlandish and crazy about him, but he actually was a very unique individual, and his heart was big as the sun, yo. I mean, he really was a special individual, and if there's a part of him, you know, being that I grew up with him, there's a part of him I think the world would love to know, and I think that part of him that they would love to know, they'll recognize that's a part of them. You know what I mean? So we're working on that, and I didn't know you knew about that, but yeah, we're working hard on that.
Yes, honey, I do my research. I don't just have people on here and not look up what's happening. You know, I would be remiss in that. You and your team would be looking at me cross-eyed going, what the hell is she doing and what is she talking about?
All right.
So, yeah, okay. I got to make sure I know what's up. But
got long? No.
I don't know. I ain't got one of them, you know. Let's hope not, child, because if I had a beard, that's a whole different conversation we need to be having. But I wanna say that there's no better person to uplift the life of ODB other than you. So I'm glad that that project is safely in your hands. I again applaud you for everything that you have accomplished up to this point. And when that film happens, I need you to come back and talk to me. And if we are partying in person at that time, I need to be at that premiere. I need to be at that party, and we need to be taking some selfies. All right.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. Bye, my brother.
I love talking to RZA. He was a lot of fun. He was making fun of my pink chair and my pink pillows. But again, you guys can see the full interview over on my YouTube channel, which should be playing in about 20 minutes or so. That does it for this edition, or this episode 135 of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am your host, Carla Renata. Next week, I will have an interview with Omari Hardwick from his new film, Spell, in theme of the Halloween month, October. I'll also be talking about The Witches. I'll be talking about Over the Moon. I'll be talking about On the Rocks. And I will finish telling you what I saw at the AFI Film Festival, because it ends on the 21st. So I'll just finish up the last half of it and tell you what I saw and where to see it. And maybe I'll have some updated information, including dates and studio streaming information regarding the things that I already told you about. So again, if this is your first time joining me, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell on YouTube for those notifications so that you know when we are going live and when we have a new episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata coming up. Thank you, Souza. Thank you, Michael B. Thank you, Brandon. Michael B., the ODB situation will be a feature film, and it is in the making. It is not happening yet, but RZA will be directing and producing that. So until the next time, thank you, Brandon. Thank y'all always for coming and joining me. I thank my team, Miss Souza and Miss Mac, for helping a sister out and dealing with me in spite of all of it. But until the next time, y'all, love, peace, and hair grease, and deuces till the next time. Bye.